Alright, so far in this series, we've only been working with one table, and we've kind of just been getting a feel for, the foundational things for writing SQL queries and running them. So in this video, we're going to start to step things up a little bit. What we're going to start talking about now is how do we associate data between two different tables. Okay, so right now I have this diagram up that just shows the products table that we've been working with so far in the course. What we're going to do now is I want to introduce a new table called stores, okay? And what I want to do here is set our database up so that a store can have many products that the store sells. We can think about it that way, and then we'll be able to see which products belong to which store. Okay, so we're going to have to look at a few new things here. The main things that we're going to be looking at are primary keys and foreign keys. Okay, so let's first see an example of adding a foreign key just in this diagram here. All right, so over in the left side here, let me see if I can make this a little bit larger here. Let's move this over here some, okay? Hopefully that's easier to see. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come inside our table definition here in this diagram, and this is an application called DB Diagram. So you can go to dbdiagram.io and play around with this stuff. And there's documentation for how to write these table definitions and so forth. But because it's a little bit different than the SQL we've been seeing so far, but I wanted to kind of give us an easier visual of things here. So with that said, so typically what you'll see is a column called ID, and it will be an integer. Okay, and then the important piece here to indicate that this is a primary key for this table, we have to set that information. So in this example here, what we would say is square brackets primary key. Now don't worry about the syntax here because it's different, like I said, from what the SQL that we'll actually write. But this is just to get this column into our diagram here. So you can see over here that it added this ID column on our products table, and it's got this little key icon indicating that it's a primary key here. So, so primary keys are usually either called ID or they're a UUID, which is a universally unique identifier. You'll see both. In this series, we're going to work with ID columns. So the way these ID columns work is that they serve as unique identifiers for all the rows in a table, okay? And now what you'll typically see is that these ID columns, when you're inserting rows into the database, you don't insert any values for these columns. Your database will take care of setting values in these columns, and what it will do, it will look to see, if there's already a row, it will look to see what the ID, the last used ID is in the table, and then when you insert a new row into the database, it will auto-increment that and populate the ID field for the new record being inserted into the database table. So with this diagram kind of started here for us, let's go to Table Plus and let's set up our products table this exact way. So we're going to start fresh here. What we're going to do is we're going to drop our products table, and we're going to redefine our products table with the ID primary key column. So you can take this moment to pause the video and make an exercise for yourself to see if you remember how to drop a table. If not, let's get started doing that first. So we'll say drop table products. Okay, we'll end that, and then we'll run this, and we'll see that the query ran okay. Still looks like we have a products table, but if we click over there, we'll see that, whoop, it doesn't exist. So if we refresh here, we'll see that that table is now gone. So let's now redefine our table. So let's say create table products, and then we will come over here and we will define the new columns for this table. So let's write the ones that we already know. So we know that we want a name here, and that's going to be a varchar. We'll keep it, or let's go to 50 this time. So these are all the ones that we've had already. So name, we had product code. Okay, and that was an integer. Okay, and then let's do the price. That was also an integer. Oh no, I'm sorry, that was a decimal. And then max discount, and that was also a decimal. Okay, now, so this is what we had before. what we want to do now is add the ID column in here. So I'm going to come back up to the top here of this table definition, and now we're going to set up the line that will ensure that our table has an ID primary key column that will auto increment. So the way we do that is we say the name of the column. In our case, we're going to call it an ID. Next, we want to say that this is serial. The data type for this is serial. Okay, so that will give us the auto incrementing aspect of this here. And now we want to indicate that this is the primary key. Okay, now, and we'll add a comma here. Now, what this will do, this is going to give us some performance benefits for when we are looking up products based off of the ID column from the products table. Okay, so let's go ahead and run this, and we see that the create table statement executed. If we refresh, we see that our products table is here. If we click over there to look at it, we see that we have this ID column now, and then the same fields that we had previously. So now let's insert a couple records into this database table. So if we pop back over here, I'm going to delete all of this create table statement out of here, and let me grab the statement that I have to insert those 5 records that we had. Now again, you could use this opportunity to make an exercise here. See if you can remember how to insert the rows into your products table. If you have the information handy, otherwise you can make up some new ones. I have the command here just to save time in the video here, so you don't have to watch me write it all out by hand. So I'm going to paste that in, and then we'll look at it again. So the way we do this, the way we insert rows, we say insert into the name of the table, and then the columns that we want to insert data for, and then we use the values keyword, and then we can insert one row at a time or multiple rows at a time. And again, remember the order of the values that you write here for the individual rows. Those values need to line up with the respective column that the ordering that you've listed out right here. Otherwise, you're going to get mismatches. So note here, one thing that we did not do, like I mentioned previously, we did not say ID and then come in here and start adding in ID numbers to all these data sets or values that we want to insert for each row. So that is something that the database will handle for us, that we've set up with that serial attribute and the primary key. So now if we run this, we will see that it query executed okay and it inserted 5 rows. Instead of clicking on the table over here and going to look at it, let's write a select statement to look at the data that we have. So let's say select all from products. Okay, let's run that. And now we see down here that the ID columns have been populated automatically for us. We didn't have to do any of that. Right, our database handled that for us. All right, so with that, we're going to wrap this video up here on primary keys. And the next video, we're going to look at adding a second table into our database, and then some things that we can do with that to start associating records from different tables together. So I will see you there.